Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I am your host, Eric Smith. Today I am talking about The Messy Man, Book 3 of the Messy Man series by Chris Sorensen. And this is from Harmful Monkey Press. And this is the story of Ellen Marks, except she is Ellen Gooding, and it's her 11th birthday. And she has received a birthday card with some money in it and a note from her dead father. And this leads to a chain of events that take her on an adventure that is horrifying and spooky and not something an 11-year-old child should be doing. And while all of that is going on, a man named Peter has woken up in a shed with no memory, and he's taken in by a sort of Santa Claus-y looking guy named Papa Fallow and 5 children that Papa takes care of, who have mysterious abilities, and there's strange things going on there, but it all ties together, and it ties into the first 2 books of the Messy Man series. And we'll get into that right now. So, just recently, I did a review of the second book, because I had read that. That one is, I'm going to look over there just to double check. That is The Hungry Ones. It's the second book in the Messy Man series. I had read that when I wasn't doing these reviews during my hiatus. So I just reviewed that one because I was reading this and wanted to cover all 3 books. The first one I reviewed way back when it first came out. So, Ellen Marks is a character that we meet in the first book of the Messy Men series, and that is the Nightmare Room. Just double checking, excuse me. It is very late, although we are about to gain an hour of time, so hopefully that'll help. I'll get a little more sleep. Anyway, the Nightmare Room is the first book, and in the events of that book, we meet this character, Ellen Marks, who is a reluctant medium. She's a young woman with strange abilities who can see and speak to the dead. And then she appears again in the second book, The Hungry Ones. But now we've gone back to when, again, she's turned 11. She's just a child. Her name is Ellen Gooding, because her father, whose name is Marks, never married her mother. And her mother insists that she's a Gooding. But anyway, so as I said, she gets this birthday card with some money in it. She uses that money to buy an old reel-to-reel recorder and some tapes, supposed to be of hymns and such. She picks this up at a garage sale, but she hears some voices on the tapes that shouldn't be there, with a strange message, and so this leads her into this adventure. She thinks she's getting signs from her father, her dead father. Let's emphasize that. And so she tricks her mom and goes off on this very spooky adventure, trying to, as always, avoid giving anything away. And as I said, meanwhile, Peter, which should be a name familiar to anyone who's read the first 2 books, is having an adventure of his own and trying to get his memory back. And around both of these characters, very weird, spooky things are happening. And it's Chris Sorensen. I really like the way he writes. I love his characters. Ellen Marks was my favorite character in the first 2 books. Out of many great characters, she was my favorite. She was the standout to me. and I really like her as an 11-year-old child, one of those sort of wise beyond her years. Without going too far with that, I mean, I guess when you can talk to the dead and such, uh, it probably would make you wise beyond your years. And she's a loner. She does not get along with her mother, but she does make mistakes. She does get not just scared of the spooky things that are going on, but afraid of that she's made a mistake going on this little trip. Um, so she's not completely like an unrealistic 11-year-old who just behaves too grown up for her own good. But there is a bit of that. Although, I mean, I don't have kids, so I couldn't tell you exactly how 11-year-olds act. Um, but but I really like the character. I like the way she's written. I like some of the characters that she meets along the way on her little adventure. Her mother is well written, not a very likable character, but again, a well written character. Chris Sorensen does well, very well with his characters. Um, and Papa Fallow, the children, all of them. I'm just naming characters that are all well written and interesting. The story itself ties into the other two books. It's interesting because technically you could read each book as a story of its own. Like I suppose technically you could pick up this book and read it without having read the other two, but you're going to be missing something. And actually, I think this one more than the way the first two tie together, you're going to be missing more if you just read this and didn't read the other two. You should read all three, read them in order. And the nice thing is, in the back of this one, well, before we get to the back of it, in the front, there's just a little series note from the author, where he tells you that in the back, there's a little synopsis. There's an author's note, and then a synopsis of the first two books, which was helpful to me when I did my review of the second one, because it had been so long since I'd read it. I didn't remember all of the details. So you can read, if you wanted to, skip the books and just read the notes, but that would be silly. You want to read these books. They're very good. And I looking forward to seeing what Mr. Sorensen is going to do next. He has this completes the story. I don't know that there's anything else for him to tell us about the Messy Man. So I think this is just going to be, I mean, I have no inside information. As far as I know, this is it. It's a 3-book series. It's a trilogy. Even though it does say Messy Man series, it doesn't say trilogy. So I suppose he could revisit it, but I wouldn't mind seeing more about Ellen Marks. We could have a spin-off series. Don't need to keep following her as an 11-year-old, but we can see what she's up to as an adult. So anyway, yeah, it ties into the other books. It's got the same spooky vibe with these great spooky. I keep using that term, but it's the one that seems most appropriate to me. But lots of nice, scary. Is that better? I don't know. Scary scenes. A lot of good character work. Just good, entertaining, perfect reading for October. Read it in the week leading up to Halloween. I don't know what else to say. That's The Messy Man, book 3 in the Messy Man series by Chris Sorensen. Yeah, I think that's That's what I have to say about this one. So, uh, highly recommended. I believe I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. Again, as I seem to say every video, I should really check what I how I rated these things on Goodreads before I record these videos. But I think I gave it 5 stars. It's a really good, entertaining book. Um, so if you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put them in the comments below. I have a question for you, which is in regard to spoilers. I think I've brought this up before. Um, would you like me to go more into detail when I'm doing the sort of recap of what the book is? I know people have different levels of things that they consider spoilers. I've mentioned before, I believe I have a sister who thinks simply mentioning a character's name is a spoiler because it tells you that character is going to be in the book, and so it's spoiled. Um, there's a book reviewer I watch on YouTube who has no problem spoiling books. He thinks that you need to, if you're reviewing a book, you need to get into the book, and thus you're going to have spoilers. I don't think he gives away any like huge plot twists or anything, but he does go into a lot of detail. So where do you fall on that? Do you want a little more detail when I'm talking about the story itself? Do you like that I keep it vague? I'm certainly not going to give away any plot twists or anything, but I do know I'm rather vague when I talk about when I nutshell the book, as it were. So, how do you feel about spoilers? Do you want more information? Do I give you just enough information? Um, I feel a book review should be kind of a tease to entice you, if it's a positive review, obviously, but to entice you to read the book. Um, I don't think anyone is watching a book review to just have me lay out the entire thing for them, or any reviewer, but maybe you are. What do I know? Um, so, yeah, let me know what you think about spoilers and how much information should be in a review. And again, we'll discuss all this in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. And that's it. That's all I've got. So this has been the Low Budget Review Show. I have been Eric Smith. And until next time, read more books.